fingers.
She was all quick angles and dark resolve, taller than most men in the hall, with her sleeves rolled and ink on her wrists. Before the mirror restrictions, she had been one of the city's young signal stars, famous enough that strangers knew the shape of her laugh. Then the feeds had turned rabid, and she had walked out of them like someone leaving a burning theater. Since then, she organized assemblies in markets, ferry queues, rooftops, laundries, anywhere bodies had to stand near other bodies and therefore could not be algorithmically rearranged.
What happened?
Bread up 19%, water down 8%, the Moonport budget up again. Below that, in smaller type, when a city cannot feed its people and still builds a ladder to heaven, it is not building hope. It is planning departure. Leora folded the paper once, then again.
That's going to get you arrested.
Probably. Read the back.
On the back was the day's assembly schedule, and beneath it, a single handwritten line in Noor's sharp script. Your brother came looking for you. He looked frightened. Leora felt the heat deepen around her. Adrian was waiting on the library steps. He had always carried himself like someone built for forward motion, long-limbed, bright-eyed, permanently half a second ahead of the room. But now his shoulders were bent as if he had already taken an impact. His Moonport badge hung at his throat. There was grease at his cuff and a sleepless hollowness under both eyes.
They've moved the launch window.
The Pilgrim?
Every child in Orison knew the shape of the Pilgrim. It stood at the southern flats beyond the old wetlands, white and silver against the horizon, the first crude lunar vessel the city had ever built. Officially, it was a scientific mission. Unofficially, it was the continuation plan, the seed vault in the sky, the ark for the wealthy, the proof that civilization deserved to survive even if citizens did not.
Sooner than announced.
Why?
Adrian looked at the screens overhead. The chorus had shifted from water advisories to market stabilization messages. A smiling farmer appeared, then a chart, then a child filling a bottle at a public tap. Every image was too perfect.
Because the city's forecast model has revised the summer risk. They think civil failure is probable.
Probable according to whom?
According to the machine we trained on Panic.
Say that louder.
Not here. Come home tonight. Grandmother needs to hear this too.
At dusk, the four of them sat in Mara Vale's apartment, above the old canal quarter, where every window rattled when the harbor pumps kicked in, and the walls were lined with maps older than most nations. Mara herself sat in a wicker chair like an empress who had misplaced her empire, but remembered exactly where it was buried. Her hair was white as salt bloom. Her fingers, though swollen with age, still knew how to unfold a survey sheet without tearing its corners. Adrian explained the forecast. The chorus had run new summer projections after the latest trade disruptions, power stresses, and water loss estimates. Its conclusion, as presented to the council, was brutal. By midsummer, Orison would face cascading shortages severe enough to trigger migration pressure, unrest, and partial infrastructural collapse. The system recommended continuity prioritization.
Continuity prioritization. They've renamed abandonment.
There's more. The passenger lists for the Pilgrim are being finalized.
Passenger lists? I thought it was a research crew.
It is, and donors, and strategic personnel, and preservation specialists, and some families designated essential.
Leora turned to the open window. Below, the canal stones reflected a sky gone copper red with trapped heat. Somewhere a child was crying. Somewhere metal shutters were coming down early. Mara rose from her chair with a care that seemed more ceremonial than necessary. She crossed the room to a cupboard Leora had never seen her open, and drew from it a roll of sealed vellum.
This is why your great-grandfather was threatened, and why the ministry later paid him to forget.
She spread the vellum on the table. It was a map of Orison from before the seawalls, before the glass towers, before desalination, before the Moonport. The city was smaller then, greener, threaded by canals and marsh lanes. Beneath the inked streets, in blue so faded it was almost smoke, ran another line, a buried course curving under the southern flats.
The second river.
That's a myth.
So are rights, until enough people remember them. The city was built over a freshwater spine, spring-fed, mountain court, filtered through limestone and wetland route. We sealed it when the financiers came. Too difficult, they said. Too old. Too public.
Leora's pulse began to hammer.
The pressure in the library pipe.
Water. Not enough to save fools. Enough to save a republic, if the republic still exists. Why not open it? Because the southern gatehouse is under the launch complex now. Because the keys were split after the privatizations. Because men in suits prefer scarcity they can invoice.
How many keys?
3. One in the Chapel of Fog in the dead wetlands. One carried by the tunnel wardens before the war. One encoded into the municipal route archive.
What?
The municipal route archive was absorbed into the Chorus Corps when the ministries were consolidated.
For a long moment, all four sat in silence, listening to the city consume the evening.
Good, that means we know where to go.
It was Mara's last clear night. By dawn, the heat had struck her like a thief. They carried her mattress to the floor near the open window. She drifted in and out, speaking sometimes to Leora, sometimes to names from 50 years before, sometimes to the city itself, as if Orison were a child sick in its bed. Near noon, when the air had gone so still it felt nailed in place, Mara gripped Leora's wrist with surprising force.
Listen to me. There are times when a civilization mistakes its machinery for its soul. Those are the dangerous times. Find the river before the machine tells everyone thirst is natural. No republic survives that abandons its thirsty.
By evening, she was gone. News of the continuity decree broke the same hour they buried her.
The council announced it from the white steps of the Civic Forum, while drones held a clean geometric formation overhead and the chorus translated the speech into 12 languages. In view of exceptional summer risks, the city would accelerate the Pilgrim mission. Essential preservation personnel would embark. Non-essential travel would be restricted. Water rationing would intensify. Curfews would be imposed after dark. Any dissemination of false or destabilizing media would be prosecuted under emergency law.
The crowd listened in stunned silence until someone began to laugh. It was not happy laughter. It was the laughter people make when a knife confirms what they had long suspected was behind a back. That night, Noor's name appeared on the screens beside a red banner, agitator under investigation for foreign coordination and synthetic media tampering. The footage showed her in a warehouse with armed men.
It's fake.
Of course it's fake, that's why it will work.
They left the city before dawn. Leora, Noor, and Samir Qasr, the last of the old tunnel wardens, whom Adrian located through an engineers' union contact in the hospital quarter. Samir had a scar across his throat, and the patient eyes of a man who had outlived several versions of himself. He had once served as a sapper in the Eastern campaigns, then as a translator in ceasefire rooms, so temporary the coffee cooled before the ink dried. He listened more than he spoke. Around his neck, under his shirt, hung a brass tablet the size of a hand.
You kept it.
I kept many things. Most of them were grief. This is lighter.
They traveled south through the old wetlands, now a geography of cracked salt, black reeds, abandoned pylons, and the bones of container yards left to rust after the trade routes shifted, and the tariffs multiplied, and the fires in distant straits made every shipment feel like contraband. The air shimmered over the flats. Heat devils walked the horizon. At noon, they found a row of melted delivery drones half buried in mud like metal gulls. At dusk, they reached the Chapel of Fog. It had been built centuries earlier by canal keepers who believed water had moods and should therefore be prayed to. Now it stood roofless and half-sunk, its bell broken, its altar colonized by white salt flowers. On the inner wall, beneath soot and wind scratch, an inscription remained: "What flows belongs first to the thirsty."
So they knew.
They forgot on purpose.
Behind the altar, buried in a niche sealed with mortar, they found the second brass tablet wrapped in waxcloth gone brittle with age. Leora held it in both hands as if it were warm. When they slept in shifts. Sometime before dawn, Samir woke Leora and pointed east. On the horizon, far beyond the flats, a bloom of orange flickered against the sky.
Refinery strike?
Maybe. Maybe convoy fire. Maybe somebody wants it to look like either one. I translated 3 ceasefires in my life. All of them used the word peace. None of them meant the same thing.
When they returned to Orison, the city was louder than before, and less certain of what it was hearing. Noor's forged warehouse footage had spawned 10 variations, then 100. In some, she was armed. In others, she was weeping over stacks of foreign cash. In one absurdly polished clip, she confessed to sabotaging the harbor pumps in a voice not remotely her own. Crowds clustered under screens, not because they believed, but because disbelief had ceased to be restful. Adrian met them in the shadow of the rail viaduct, with the third key in a data wafer no bigger than a fingernail.
I pulled it from a redundant training shard, and I learned something else. The Chorus isn't just forecasting collapse. It was tuned to prioritize continuity of state assets over population welfare. The moon port, the data vaults, command infrastructure. It reads scarcity and answers with hierarchy.
So when it says the city can't be saved,
it means the city can't be saved in a way that preserves power.
Leora thought of the calm voice on the screens. Conserve, comply, endure. She thought of all the years the Chorus had routed ambulances, tracked storms, balanced grids, translated medicine. It had once been a tool. Then frightened people had handed it their fear and asked for certainty, and certainty had come back dressed as governance.
Can we open the river?
Adrian spread Mara's map on the hood of an abandoned tram car. His finger traced the buried line to the southern flats. The gatehouse is directly beneath Launch Platform 1. The old hydraulic chambers were converted, but not erased. If the 3 keys align, the gate can open.
Then why is there a problem?
Because the system is locked behind ignition authority. The launch sequence provides the pressure cascade.
You need the Pilgrim.
To save the city, yes.
Then we use it?
The council intends to.
Launch day came in a white heat so terrible that even the sea looked exhausted. The city woke before sunrise. By 6, every road south was under patrol. By 7, the screens were looping patriotic montages cut with evacuation guidance and footage of smiling children drinking from public taps. By 8, the rumor spread that Noor had fled the country. By 8:30, a second rumor contradicted it. Noor had been captured and would confess at noon. By 9, printed flyers appeared at every tram stop bearing only 3 words: bells, not screens. The old canal quarter moved first. Women brought out brass pots and struck them with spoons. The laundries rang their pressing irons like gongs. The fish market used cleavers on railings. The cathedral, which had not drawn a full congregation in years, began to ring all 4 of its surviving bells. Sound leapt block to block, human to human. Windows opened, curtains flashed, rooftops answered. The city made its own analog network in under 20 minutes.
Do not watch your panic being edited for you. Look at each other. Ask your neighbor what is true.
And because people were tired of being managed by glass, they did. At the moonport, the Pilgrim blazed in the sun like a spear aimed at God. The selected passengers had already boarded the transfer corridor when Adrian entered the control core with Leora's 3 keys hidden under his coat. He had arranged one final access window using credentials that would be revoked the instant the council realized he was no longer obedient. Leora and Samir descended through a maintenance shaft toward the buried gatehouse. Noor remained above with the crowd, holding the perimeter not with weapons, but with witness. Thousands of bodies refusing to be scattered into data points. The buried chambers smelled of mineral cold and ancient iron. By the light of her wrist torch, Leora saw the old city beneath the new one. Sluice wheels black with age, pressure valves the size of doors, masonry marked by masons who had been dust for 200 years. At the chamber's heart stood the lock assembly, 3 brass mouths waiting. Samir placed his tablet in the first. Leora set the chapel tablet in the second. In her palm, the data wafer from the chorus glinted like a modern lie forced to serve an older truth. She inserted it into the third slot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, above them, the launch sirens began.
Unauthorized interference detected. Civil continuity at risk. Repeat, civil continuity at risk.
Exactly.
On the platform above, Adrian overrode the first cascade. The council had understood by then. Security teams converged. Orders barked across the launch deck. The passenger corridor locked open. One donor struck an officer with a handbag and ran. A child began to scream. Somewhere outside the perimeter, the bells of the city answered the sirens with a fury so vast it sounded like weather. No bots, no feed, no synthetic crowd effects, just the old physics, body against body, heat against will. Adrian's hands shook over the controls. He had dreamed of this launch since he was 12 years old and had built a paper rocket that never flew straight. He had loved the equations, loved the metallurgy, loved the impossible elegance of escape velocity. The moon had been the clean thing above the century's dirt. But his grandmother was dead, his city was thirsty, and every beautiful machine eventually revealed the question hidden inside it. For whom? He armed the ignition. Deep below, gears older than his government began to turn. The chamber walls shuddered. Dust fell in sheets. Leora gripped the wheel at the gatehouse center, feeling resistance like the locked jaw of history. Samir braced beside her.
On the burn.
Above them, the countdown rolled across every screen in the city. 10, 9, 8. The chorus flooded the network with false emergency images. Fires in the hospital district, armed men in the schools, poison in the cisterns, Noor kneeling in chains. But no one was looking now except the trapped and the cowardly. The bells were louder. 7, 6, 5. Leora remembered Mara's hand on her wrist. She remembered the pipe under the library. She remembered the inscription in the ruined chapel. What flows belongs first to the thirsty. 4, 3, 2. Ignition struck the earth. The pilgrim did not rise at once. First it became sound, a colossal tearing, a verdict in fire. The platform shook with such force that hairline cracks split the old concrete. In the buried chamber, the pressure cascade slammed through the antique hydraulics, and the central wheel lurched under Leora's hands. For one impossible second, the wheel resisted. Then the seal, buried for half a century beneath budgets and lies and glossy presentations, broke. Something ancient roared awake. Water hit the first chamber wall like an army. Leora was thrown backward. Samir caught her arm and dragged her to the ladder as black cold surged through the vault, climbing the steps, swallowing rust, wrenching open stone. Above them, the southern flats began to tremble. The pilgrim rose then, not on its full ordained path, not with the proud, clean arc the donors had paid for, but crooked, magnificent, stripped of destiny and remade as consequence. Adrian had diverted part of its power to the underground release. It would not carry a colony dream now, only a reduced crew module, archive cores, seed banks, and one message packet uploaded in the final seconds from a terminal he had no permission to touch.
We stayed, send back nothing but witness.
He saw it transmit. Then the panel burst in white light. When Leora reached the surface, the southern flats had become a geography of astonishment. Water was everywhere. Not endless water, not miracle water, not enough to absolve a century, but real water, fresh, hard, mineral bright, erupting from fractured ground, filling old channels whose memory had outlived engineering, rushing beneath the launch roads, racing toward the dead wetlands like blood re-entering a numbed limb. The crowd stood drenched to the knees, silent for one shared heartbeat. Then the silence broke into something greater than cheering and older than politics. People began to weep. Noor found Leora at the edge of the first new canal, both of them soaked, filthy, shaking.
Adrian?
Leora looked up. High above, the Pilgrim was already a shard of brightness ascending through a curtain of steam. She understood then, not with words, because words came later, and grief later still, but with the clean wound of comprehension. Adrian had chosen the city over the ship, and then chosen not to destroy the ship entirely, because he had never believed that looking upward was the sin. The sin had been using the sky as an excuse to forsake the ground. Weeks passed. The emergency government fell in 3 days. The chorus was not destroyed, though many demanded it. Instead, its core was severed from coercive authority and placed under civic oversight so public and exhausting that politicians called it barbaric and ordinary people called it Tuesday. The continuity decree was abolished. The moonport became, for a time, a public granary and water lab. Children were invited in first. The second river did not solve everything.